Greetings, all! Today, we'll be examining the common bug-type Pokemon Tarountula, the String Ball Pokémon, and its relatively uncommon evolution Spidops, the Trap Pokémon. While they might look just a tad too silly for most to take them seriously, the members of the Tarountula family are still effective predators that can give younger Pokemon a hard time if they can't avoid their lures and traps.
Tarountula have bodies that are mostly covered in a thick ball of string that hides their main body from sight, leaving their 8 yellowish-green and green-tipped legs dangling downwards. Their head is also thankfully uncovered, revealing a yellowish-green head with a set of 4 mandible parts around their mouth, 2 black eyes with oval pupils, and a pair of white, semi-heart-shaped markings on the sides of their head. Their evolved form, Spidops, retain their leg number and overall color scheme, but their main torso is now revealed as an adult, with a lower abdomen that is covered in a wrapping of string for some level of protection, though with an exposed beige tail end with a cone-like protrusion from which they secrete their string. Their upper abdomen is green in color as is their head, with beige sides and a pair of forward-facing eyes with a bristly green set of mandible parts around their mouth.
As with similar arachnoid Pokemon, the members of the Tarountula family are well known for using the strong, sturdy silk, but in their case it is taken to an entirely different level as it is used for much more than just catching prey.
These arachnids are able to make the most of their wire-like string by using it to line both their bodies and their natural habitats in order to utilize it for not just body armor or some sort of shield to defend themselves with, but actively use it for just about everything, from retrieving something that is far away from them to making clothes and other attire for others. They can even use it as a weapon, as they can secrete the silk and harden it into a physical projectile of sorts, or even just capture and smack other Pokemon around with it, which aids them in using moves like Circle Throw and Skitter Smack in battle. Outside of this, the silk is relatively coarse, and isn't really the best material for making clothing products, but its applications in body armor have helped to put these otherwise simple beasts on the map, and the subject of much interest. However, they can be a bit difficult to handle, as they tend to reach adulthood fairly fast compared to any other silk-generating Pokemon, and thus can be a handful to deal with if they can't be properly trained before they reach adulthood.
At the very least, though, they can be worked with at any time of the day, as the creatures normally have insomnia as their only base ability, though individuals that are also sharper in the overall intellect and are able to readily target any potential threats that might come against them with the drop of a hat can also have Stakeout as a hidden ability.
As far as their stats are concerned, in the case of Spidops, while their combat abilities are not as bad as they could be, evolving early seems to deprive them of much combat effectiveness, as while they are fairly sturdy, the base defense and special defense stats being above average for fully evolved bug-type Pokemon, everything else is below average, thus limiting the overall use outside of friendly battles in most cases. At a young age, these beasts have fairly soft bodies that are unable to deal with direct attack very well, so to rectify this they generally cover themselves in a thick cocoon-like ball of thread that helps to give them at least some sort of armor to defend against attack, and it seems to work as well, given that they have decent defenses for a young bug-type Pokemon, and thus serve as a useful proof of concept for this strong silk string. The ball of armor is even enough to deflect blows from the sharp blades of Pokemon like Scyther, which serve as the major predator of the entire Tarountula family, and a dire threat they otherwise cannot handle offensively in a juvenile state of development. With all this said though, these creatures are generally rather passive in their hunting tendencies, relying on lures with other bits of food, and like berries on the end of a piece of string, to attract and potentially nab a small prey item like a scatterbug, which they then make short work of with their small but sharp mandibles before grabbing another berry and repeating the process. They can wait up to a day for their prey to come along, and the patience is often rewarded with a quick life cycle, reaching their adult stage at an earlier level than most other bug types as already mentioned, and thus proving to be a potential threat even at a relatively low level of experience.
Evolution into Spidops grants Tarountula far superior defenses compared to their juvenile state, and in turn, a much more invigorated hunting spirit that can make these beasts a notable issue to deal with if they can't be totally overpowered.
In the wild, these creatures mainly specialize in using the sticky string to generate traps for other wild Pokemon, clinging from branches and ceilings and using said string to move from one place to another without making a sound. In doing so, they quickly generate and lay sticky traps for any potential prey item that might stumble into them, and they will do this over their entire territory, changing and repairing traps as they are used or otherwise damaged or destroyed. This can render their territory extremely tricky to navigate, as while Spidops themselves are not the most gifted arachnids offensively, they can take serious punishment and use that to outlast weaker Pokemon as they go to sever the vital parts with their sharp mandibles and fangs. Aside from this, it is also important to note that these creatures can make special use of their traps in battle with their signature Silk Trap technique, which they acquire immediately after evolution, to both protect themselves completely from damage by an incoming attack, and entangle their opponent to lower their speed if direct contact is attempted, so at the very least they can show more than a few tricks in battle that go beyond what otherwise meager offenses might otherwise make them capable of.
While many wouldn't think to take much notice of these creatures aside from a laugh or two. Tarountula and Spidops are still great hunters in the wild and should be underestimated by anyone. Tarountulas certainly are cute and funny to look at though, and they more often than not can be the victim of children just batting them around like a bowl. But these little critters can still prove to be a potential threat as a result of their silk and their capacity to wait for long periods of time for a meal. Patience is key when it comes to their lives. And Spidops, while having melee defense to work with, are still efficient hunters that can trap just about anything in their tangled webs, and that includes humans, so you might want to think twice about not watching your step when in their territory. Bug types that mature quickly like they do might not always be the greatest to work with, but these arachnids are nonetheless a notable threat at a young age, and thus should be prepared for if you don't have something like extreme heat to make getting past them and their web traps a lot easier.
While they ultimately might not be the strongest of offensive fighters out there, the members of the Tarountula family are still sturdy beings that can make the most of the sticky string to take out those weaker than them. The fact that they can get access to their full power much earlier than most can at least give them a leg up against other young Pokemon, and thus can be of some use to beginning trainers.
Just do yourself a favor and make sure that you keep an eye out for their traps if they're in the process of hunting, as it might not make either party happy if you turn around the wrong corner and end up with a face full of web out of nowhere.
Thank you for watching this video. It brings me great joy to be able to speak to you all in the world each and every time we meet like this, to explore the many different facets of both the world of Pokemon as we know it, and the world as we live it, through every adventure we have with Pokemon by our side. If you'd like to, please subscribe, ring the bell and all that jazz, to keep yourself updated on content uploads and other materials of the like. You can also follow me on Twitter if you'd like to know right away when something new is uploaded, and my written works, from which most of this is based on, can be found on DeviantArt. Links to both can be found in the description down below. Remember that the world of Pokemon is a place full of wonder and mystery, and you never know what to expect. So, stay vigilant, keep watch, and always be prepared for the unexpected. Until next time, trainers and friends of all sorts, have a wonderful time.